Welcome back to day number 3, video number 3. So you just started a brand new home service business, a remote home service business at that. Day 1, you're a new operator in a new business, whether it's your first business, your 10th business, whatever it is, you are likely full of excitement, but going to struggle with one of these 3 things. Let's break down exactly what these 3 most common struggles are. This is coming from someone who has started or aided in starting over 400 remote home service businesses. And almost every single time, people are likely to struggle with one of these 3 things. Let's start with number 1. Fear number 1 is going to be your ability to effectively hire and onboard. The most common question that I get asked, the most common fear that people have is, how am I going to hire? How am I going to find cleaners? How am I going to onboard people? I don't understand that. I've never ran a business before. I've never had staff before. How am I going to be able to make this happen? Well, this fear can easily be split up into 2 separate subcategories. First, we have the hiring fears, and then we have the onboarding fears. Hiring fears include things like your inability to sell the position, your inability to convince somebody to work for you. Maybe your inability to find contractors altogether. Where am I going to find them? Where am I going to look? And then lastly, your inability to maintain your margins. This essentially means, how am I going to still make money while I pay these contractors well? Now, on the onboarding side, these fears can be broken down into one of 3 things, right? Not having enough work for your contractors. You may want to onboard them. They may be ready to move forward, but do I even have enough work where they're not going to just walk away? Should I even onboard them yet? Your onboarding fears could include losing interest during the onboarding. Maybe you have a great conversation with somebody. Things move quick, especially in this type of industry. By the time you're actually going through the onboarding process, it's very possible that they lose interest altogether. They're no longer wanting to work in the role. They're no longer wanting to work in your company, or potentially even technical challenges. How am I going to get all the paperwork from them? How am I going to get them onboarded? How am I going to get them through the process to the point that they can actually start taking jobs and seeing if they are a good fit in the company? Well, let's break these all down and solve each one of these for you. First of all, your inability to sell the position. Well, this really comes down to your conviction and belief in the quality and value of what it is that you provide as the operator. A lot of the times, people come to me and they say, Parker, why would somebody work for me for half of the job total if they're the one doing all the cleaning? Well, if you justify your role in the company being worth that much or more, it's actually very, very simple. What is very difficult is selling this position if you frame it as, well, yeah, I'll give you the job, you do the clean, and we split it 50-50. Of course, they're not going to be interested in that. But rather, can you frame it as, hey, I'm going to do all the back end. I'm spending hundreds, thousands of dollars a month, whatever, however you want to frame it, on advertising. I'm running the back end. I'm running ads. I'm doing the website. I'm maintaining all of the bookkeeping. I'm maintaining all the back end operations. I'm fielding the sales call, being by the desk all day. I'm doing the customer follow-up support. You get paid right away from me. And oftentimes I have to actually wait to hear from the client or to actually get the money from the client after the job, right? If you can build up your value, the value of the service that you're providing, it becomes way, way easier to sell the position. Now, your inability to find contractors, this is almost always just going to stem from you not knowing where to look. And what I mean by that is that there is absolutely zero shortage of people who are looking for more work. Think about yourself in your own life, in your own sphere of people, let alone in a sphere of people that, is so much greater. There are so many people out there looking for work, looking for ways to make more money. The inability to find contractors stems from you either only looking in one place or just not knowing where to look at all. You need to be looking in referral-based platforms like Facebook, like Nextdoor, and then using job boards potentially, like a ZipRecruiter, an Indeed, even potentially LinkedIn, and then even, if need be, resorting to a care.com and basically finding cleaners as if you were a customer. These people want to be found. They want to get work. You just don't know where to look and how to approach them. Now, lastly, we have the inability to maintain margins. This is where you're going to have preliminary conversations in the hiring process where service providers, contractors are going to request that you pay them $40 an hour, that you pay, oh, I normally charge $50 an hour. That's what I want to make. This, again, circles back to an inability to sell the position. Maintaining margins should not be that difficult unless you are, one, underquoting your jobs, or two, not selling your value that you provide. Just because these contractors and service providers can sell their own jobs at $40 an hour does not mean that you need to pay them $40 an hour. If they have gaps in their schedule and they are looking to make more money and have more work, they will work for lower rates because you are doing a lot of the legwork. They have no money spent on acquiring clients. They don't have to spend time selling or closing jobs. They don't have to spend time doing walkthroughs. They don't have to handle the back and forth. They don't have to handle anything other than showing up, doing the service. That's only about half of the work, and they should be willing to take a fair rate, 50, 55, maybe 60% of the job total in exchange for doing this. So we'll move to onboarding fears. Not having enough work, this is all just a frame. This is all just how you present the opportunity to the service provider. You should 100% be telling the service provider that they are being added in expectation of receiving more work. You should not be pitching this as we're a brand new company and I don't know if we're going to have any jobs for you, but let's onboard you. You should be saying we are a rapidly growing company. We are hiring in the expectation that we are going to continue to grow more, have more have more clients, have more bookings, have more repeating customers, and we are trying to get ahead of it. We can't guarantee you a ton of work right out of the gates, but most of the contractors you're onboarding will probably have somewhat of their own book of business, and in which case they will be happy to just wait, especially if you can get things going in the first couple of weeks, maybe even inside of the first month, and just maintain the communication with them. This is all a frame. Yes, if you onboard them telling them they're going to make $40 hours a week worth of work, yes, they're going to, of course, have the wrong frame, and this is going to be an issue. The frame needs to be that you are hiring in expectation of work coming, and you are bringing them on not with a full schedule, but with the opportunity to grow inside of the role and continue to get more work and make more money inside the company. Losing interest during onboarding and technical challenges with onboarding can be solved with the same thing, and this is going quickly through the onboarding process and not creating unnecessary friction. In order for my service providers to get started, all that I really need from them is a W-9 form if they are starting right away with jobs over $600, and I'm going to need the cleaner's agreement. Otherwise, everything else is frivolous, and the majority of your service providers are not going to be starting with a single job over $600. So in that case, you really only need the service agreement or the cleaner's agreement that you're going to be having them sign. This is just your protection as a company. You don't need to create a ton of extra friction with getting insurances all on file and everything. You don't need to create a ton of extra friction with getting a W-9 for a $100 job. You don't need to create extra friction with onboarding into Stripe or your payroll system or any of that stuff. Get the cleaner's agreement. Get them into the CRM if you're using a CRM like a Booking Koala, just so they can see the booking details, and then let them go out, do a job, get paid from you for that job, and they will be so much more willing to stay interested, to stay quick with onboarding process, to fight through any technical difficulties with any payroll systems or anything like that. All of this stuff can be circumvented by making their life and their job easier in the onboarding process. The reason why you're afraid of it is because you're making it way too difficult for them to get onboarded. Now let's jump to the second fear, your ability to close deals and get bookings on the calendar. Now that we have contractors, how do we get busy? How do we actually make money? Well, this breaks off into two fears. The first one being a lead generation and the second one being a closing rate. My lead generation fear is that I don't have enough lead sources. I'm not getting enough lead volume, or my cost per lead is so high that I can't justify continuing to generate leads. My closing rate fears exist in not enough intent from the leads. The lead quality is too low, too bad. There's too much competition. all of my leads can call another 20 companies. Or this model makes me shift my prices too high. My other companies in my area are able to charge so cheap. How am I going to be able to compete and close jobs from them? Well, let's break all these down to their root causes. Not enough lead sources. This just means you're not looking enough places. From the very beginning, you should be advertising on at least 3 platforms. You should be doing cold outreach. You should be getting into your community and anyone that you actually know. And you should be leveraging SEO and social media. With 7 different lead sources, I guarantee you, if you are able to actually be diligent and be consistent for even 1 month, you will have leads coming in. You will have customers calling with intent trying to book jobs. Not enough lead volume. Well, either this is an output volume, meaning you're not doing enough outreach, you're not doing enough ads, and you're not doing enough SEO, social media, networking in your community, etc. Or this means that your market selection hasn't been great, so you may need to shift your focus to a particular niche or vertical that is a little different than where you started, right? Both of these, I should say, lead sources and lead volume tied together. You do not know exactly how much lead volume you're going to have, and you do not know which lead sources are going to work best until you've done about a month worth of research or data collection inside of your business. So if you are just shooting in the dark, running 2 lead sources, being inconsistent with your outreach, not actually doing what needs to be done to generate buzz and interest, it is not going to be surprising at all when you struggle with these, but you do not have to fear them if you are doing a wide horizon or wide range of different outreach methods, and you are doing your volume on your end. You're running enough ads, you're actually doing outreach, you're getting on multiple ad platforms, you're getting some work done on your SEO side, you're getting some social media posts out, and a vast majority of this stuff can be done for cheap or for free. So don't shy away from doing that work. In the beginning, it is going to be foundational for you deciding which lead generation strategy is going to be the most valuable and most helpful for you. Next, we have high cost per lead. Well, the high cost per lead normally stems from you doing one of 2 things. Either 1, not being able to convert anyone to recurring, which means your fulfillment isn't high enough quality, or 2, you actually just not understanding the LTV of your customer. Because if you are converting even 25% of your bookings into recurring, and even if you're only converting 50% of your leads into cleans, you are still going to be net profitable on the LTV of those jobs. That's just the math. That means if you are converting just 10% of your leads into recurring bookings, you will be profitable over the LTV if your fulfillment is high quality. This fear just stems from you not knowing the numbers, not knowing your KPIs, and not knowing your business and business model well enough to make informed decisions. Now let's jump down into closing rate fears. Not enough intent from leads. This is what we always hear people say, the leads are low quality. Well, hate to break it to you, this almost always breaks down to your speed to your lead and your ability to build intent, build motivation, build scarcity for these leads. Ultimately, you will have your leads that call in. They have no rush. They have no intent. They're going to call 20 companies no matter what. It's a race to the bottom on price. That's fine. Those are not your customers. The rest of your leads can have intent build, can have motivation build, and can be converted even if you think that their quality is low. Especially when I hear people barking, whining, complaining about local service ads, about Thumbtack, about platforms where you are paying per lead and saying the intent is low, your sales process sucks. And if you have the right sales process and you're able to build intent by scheduling constraint, if you're able to build intent by first-time caller discounts or limited time only discounts, if you're able to build intent by having expert teams or service providers with limited availability, all of these things can help increase the intent of your customer, get them on the calendar, make it non-committal for them to seal the booking, and then just deliver on fulfillment, and you can get these low intent, low quality leads that you're complaining about or that you're afraid of to become very, very, very frequently booking on your calendar, booking with your service provider teams, and then converting to recurring after delivering a high quality service. too much competition. There's so many other businesses for them to call. Make yourself stand out. Of course, there's other businesses for them to call. If you were in a market with zero competition, the market would be terrible because there would be no human beings there, which means there'd be nothing to clean. Too much competition only exists in truly amazingly densely populated metro urban areas with very small service areas. Otherwise, competition is not a bad thing. You need to nestle your business into a sweet spot where you can offer high quality fulfillment, reasonable rates, but also offer soon and frequent availability. That is going to be your edge, is that you pick up the phone, is that you actually are the owner of the company. You actually can make decisions, can give rates, can answer questions, that you can provide instant or extremely quick pricing and service options, that you have short-term availability, and that your prices are going to be lower than the massive companies that have these giant books of business that don't really need new clients, so they charge out the wazoo. If you think you have too much competition, it's because you haven't found your UVP, you haven't found your unique value proposition when you're on the phone selling to your clients. And lastly, thinking that, oh, our model is too high priced. There are going to be too many owner-operators, too many small, cheap companies, Claudia's cleaning company, where Claudia can come in and just charge $30 an hour and clean for that. How can I beat Claudia? You don't have to beat Claudia. You don't have to beat Claudia. Claudia can't find 80% of the clients that you can find, and the 20% of the clients that you can find, you just remind those clients that when there's an issue, Claudia does the cleaning, Claudia owns the company, Claudia is the only point of contact, and that it's going to be hard to reach her. It's going to be hard to get the high quality customer service that you want. She probably can't accept credit cards. She probably doesn't offer the same quality of fulfillment and customer experience that you can offer as a company. But not only can you give them that, you can beat the price of the big guys while still offering a better experience than them, because you're the owner. It's a small company. You oversee the operations directly. You can justify your price 10 times out of 10 if you know how to sell on your offer. Lastly, let's jump into fear number 3, dealing with unhappy clients and unhappy service providers. I've got service providers, I've got bookings on the calendar, we're doing jobs. Well, I am so afraid. What if my clients are unhappy? What if my cleaners are unhappy? How am I going to solve problems? What am I going to do? Let's jump right into it. There's only 2 types of issues on this fear set, and it is customer dissatisfaction, contractor dissatisfaction. Your customer might be upset because we were late, or they weren't very professional, or they didn't speak the greatest English. They didn't have XYZ thing that the customer wanted them to have. The customer might be upset that the service wasn't up to the quality that they wanted. They don't feel like everything that they paid for was done, or that they were misaligned their expectations for the service. What you sold them is just really not the quality that they received, and they don't feel that things weren't done, but they just expected something different than what they received. On the contractor side, their dissatisfaction might arise from them not making enough money or getting enough work, them having really difficult clients or services that don't feel like they're worth the money that they're making there, or them just having a general lack of commitment to the role because you're not their boss. It's not a W-2. They have their own book of business. If they have an issue here or there, if there's any type of problem, they're just it's not important to me. I don't like it. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to walk away from it. Let's break these down from the top here. Customer dissatisfaction, tardiness, or lack of professionalism. This just stems from meeting the customer where they're at, apologizing, showing the customer that you are trying, your service providers are doing multiple services in a day. There should have been plenty of time, and this should have been communicated ahead of time to them, but then resetting the expectation with your service providers that if they are going to run late, they need to communicate with you or with the customer directly to make sure that the customer is at least in the loop. 90% of your customers, 95% of your customers are going to be fine with you being late or having issues every once in a while, as long as they are communicated with in the moment as the lateness is going to occur, not after we're already running behind schedule. This is a communication issue, and it's something that you can solve by just setting proper expectations with your service providers. And if there is an issue, apologizing to the customer, meeting them on the grounds that they're already on, and offering them a solution to either reschedule the service. Potentially, if we're running late, can you leave a garage code? Can you leave a key for us so that you don't have to sit around and wait for us to get there? Be solution oriented. Address the problem. Agree that it's an issue. Be solution oriented. You can get around this 9 times out of 10 with good communication, or just attacking the problem head on with a solution oriented mindset. Lack of quality of service. This is just going to come either from our third, which is misaligned expectations, or from the service providers just not doing good enough work. If this becomes a frequently recurring problem, we just have to replace the service providers. But on the one-off, all we need to do is tell the clients that we have a satisfaction guarantee. We will send the team back out. And when you're onboarding your service providers, you just tell them, hey, there's no punishment if you don't do a great job. There's no, there's no garnishment of wages. There's no anything of that case, but you're going to have to go back and finish the job. And if you can't go back and finish the job, we're going to prorate the clean with a discount, which means the client pays less, you make a little less, the cleaner makes a little bit less, but the cleaner has been warned about this and their expectation has been set properly. Again, if this happens frequently, it's probably time to just let that cleaner go. But a lack of quality of services can normally, again, be apologized for, and you can make arrangements for a return visit or a slight proration of the service if the service is just terrible altogether, which may happen but shouldn't happen if you're finding your cleaners through the right methods. You can always just refund and tell the contractor that they're not getting paid because the work wasn't completed, but it's very, very, very rarely happens if you set expectations properly and your cleaners are found from the right sources. Lastly, we have misaligned expectations for services. Just make sure that your cleaners understand that they need to ensure that the client is happy. Do a walkthrough if the client is there. Make sure that the client knows exactly what was completed, and make sure that they have visually gone through and inspected it with you. If they haven't been there, or they weren't able to stay to the end of the clean and actually do the walkthrough with you, this is where getting before and after photos is so huge. Having clear documentation on your website as to what is included inside of services. And then, I hate to say it, but a simple fallback is just making sure that you have call recording on your phone. Your phone system should have call recording, and if that is the case, and you want to be able to actually go back and reference the conversation that you've had, have call recording so you can go back. If the client says, well, you were supposed to clean inside of my fridge, go back, view the call recording, make sure that if that was the case, you're prorating the service accordingly. And if it wasn't, you have a transcript to show the client that that was never discussed. Next, we have contractor dissatisfaction, not making enough or getting enough work. Pretty much always stems from expectation setting. Ultimately, most of your contractors in the early days should have their own book of business to some degree. They should be putting food on their table. You should not be their lone source of income. And if you are, this is probably just poorly set expectations. If you're not, it just comes down to reinforcing the fact that you are continuing to drive traffic and to try to find more clients, and you will have more work available for them. And if they continue to do a good job on the work that they are getting, that they will continue to make money and have kind of first dibs or first claim over new clients as they come in. And if they're not making enough money on a per job basis, this will generally stem from either them being too slow or your quotes being too low. And just be diligent in your collection of data, your understanding of the jobs. If you have other teams that are able to knock out the same or similar jobs within a 3 to 4 hour time period, but you have one team that takes 5 or 6 hours and then complains that they're not making enough per hour, it may come to you just having a conversation with the team about their inefficiency being the cause for the hourly rate being low and not the actual rates being charged or paid. difficult clients and services is part of the game. Most of the time, your service providers just want to feel that you hear them, that you care about them, that you're going to stand by them and support them through these difficult clients, difficult jobs and services, and that if something is not as advertised, if a client has told you, hey, this is how this service is going to be, you are going to enforce that the service is like that. And if it is significantly worse, if it is a massive headache, if it's a whole problem or issue for your service providers upon arrival, that you are going to get that service adjusted. You've already set expectations with the client that what they have told you is what they have been quoted for. And if it's not what they've told you, the price is going to increase. You're going to protect your cleaners' time and energy and effort and not allow them to do 10 hours worth of cleaning on a 6-hour quote because your client lied or undersold the job. As long as you create that understanding with both your clients and your contractors, this should not be too much of an issue. If they're in the home services space, they're going to understand that this is just part of the job. Lastly, the lack of commitment to the role is pretty much something that you can only fix by either getting them more jobs or by replacing the service provider. It's pretty simple that at the end of the day, if the service provider doesn't take your jobs that you provide them seriously enough, it's probably just not going to be the right fit. You will find service providers who will say that they're all about it, who will have the experience, have the equipment, have what appears to be the tenacity and the drive to go out and do it. But when push comes to shove, they will not actually get it done for you. Those service providers need to get a one-time warning and then second time need to be removed because this is your reputation and your company, not theirs. And if they won't commit to the role, this is not a fear of the contractor's dissatisfaction, not something you have to go apologize and fix for them, but rather something where you need to tell them, hey, you're not going to get more work. You're not going to improve in this role, make more money, any of the sort, if you don't take the jobs that you do get seriously. And if you can't get that through to them, they need to be replaced. So these are very far and away the 3 most common fears that you're going to have and 3 most common issues that you just might deal with if you're not prepared to handle them correctly. Your ability to effectively hire and onboard first, your ability to close deals and get bookings on the calendar, and then your ability to deal with unhappy clients and service providers. There's a lot of nuance to these fears, but they can all be solved with the proper systems. And when we're able to solve our onboarding fears, we end up with a killer team of contractors. When we're able to solve our lead generation and closing fears, our ability to stay booked, we end up with a constant flow of leads and bookings, building this big book of business, starting to stack recurring revenue, starting to actually transform this into a money-making machine for you. And lastly, if we're able to handle or solve our fear of dealing with client and customer issues and problems, we are left with happy customers and contractors. And folks, with these 3 things, with a good flow of leads and bookings, with happy customers and contractors, and a killer high quality fulfillment team, we have nothing standing in the way from us stacking recurring bookings, adding 5-star reviews, cementing our local celebrity status inside of our service area, and growing not just one home service, but a multiple home service empire that can make you tens, if not multiple tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars every year on repeat, just by your reputation and the quality of service that you can put out. It really is this simple to have a winning business and be a winning operator. Your fears are not uncommon. All you need is the framework to solve them. Now, if you are interested in working directly with somebody who has solved these fears for hundreds of business operators all over the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and the list goes on and on and on, working in a direct equity partnership so that I can make sure you are a winning operator inside of a winning business, there is a link in the description of this video where I will break down not just what we're going to do to solve all of these fears, but exactly step by step the scripts, the materials, the templates, and examples for every single step of the process so you can be this winning operator inside of a massively winning business in an industry that is ripe for the taking, recession-proof, AI-proof, never going anywhere. If you're interested, there is a link in the description below. You can book a call with me, learn more about the Home Service Partner Program, about exactly what we do over at the Home Service Experts, and be part of our journey to 250 plus cash flowing businesses over the next 2 years. We will help you start, build, scale, and exit your business all as a part of our empire. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more content like it, make sure you click the subscribe button so that you don't miss another video. Make sure you smash the like button, leave a comment if you have any questions or a topic for another video in this series. And as always, stay blessed. Have a wonderful day. I will see you guys in the next video.